and welcome to Imperial Advisor episode 52, aka the Birmingham Rundown. How you doing, everybody?
Good.
Good.
All right, we are back from helping to run the Grand Kotei in Birmingham at the UK Games Expo. Long weekend. Baz, how was it for you?
Yeah, long is the best description. I mean, for us, it was getting up at 6 a.m. and getting to bed at 11, but we got to meet a lot of great people and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself.
Absolutely. It was good fun to run as an event. It was lower stress than last year, I think. Taking the round off made a big difference. The improved end of round procedures really tell in a big event like this. We were getting about a round turned over in about an hour 15 most of the time, because most days we were ending ahead of schedule. So it went well from that point of view. John was even pressured into giving a lunch break, which he doesn't like doing. So the people got a lunch break. So yeah, it went well. We haven't heard any serious complaints yet. So as soon as I say that, I'm sure someone will come forward a story of how they were done dirty on some level. But generally speaking, went well for us.
Yeah. To me, at least, it seemed evident that the players as well were a lot more experienced in the game and the rules. Obviously, by now we've got a far more kind of established player base who've been playing it for a year or so and are pretty dedicated. But yeah, the number of questions we were getting were lower, and the number and the shall we say the quality of the questions were always quite high, which was good to see. Yeah, players know what they're doing.
Absolutely. We had a number of shout outs to give for that. The Asmodee team were really good. They're still called the Asmodee OP team, aren't they?
So I think there is an Asmodee UK that we didn't deal with. Then there's
Yes.
an Asmodee group that OP that we did deal with, and then so that was Tommy and Alec, and then we also had Alex, who was part of the Asmodee OP US group because he's in his transition. But yeah, they were absolutely great. They gave us everything we needed. Oh, so yeah, John is saying we work with FFG OP.
Yes. So we work with FFG OP, and we're working with Alec and Tommy, who are based in the UK, and Alex Watkins, who's based in the US. We also worked with Liam Hall, who covered the prize wall for us, which was a bunch of stress out of our hair, frankly, which was awesome because we didn't have to put anybody on that. So we could just focus on judging. It was great. Of course, we were aided by Rob of Dragon Clan and Being a Viking fame, and Meg, who helped us out with running all the data entry and otherwise keeping everything organized for us at main desk. So it was awesome. They were really interested in our feedback from last year and getting feedback from this year, so we got to give them some. And yeah, they were very receptive about it, and they were very interested in hearing what we had to say. And we're kind of very much, hey, you guys go handle that, and the Irish guys are going to handle that, and it's not a problem. So that was great. I'm always pleased when we're kind of skill gets recognized. That's good. They were. It was interesting because there was a gaggle of different sort of FFG people there, and there was a lot of stuff being said that was very positive in terms of, they had plans for Alpha Vor, and they've got stuff in the way, some of which sounds very exciting if it'll come out. So yeah, but it sounded good from that point of view. We were chatting with one of the prize guys as well, and he was talking a little bit about like stuff that he's kind of hoping to do, and it was all sounding very, very good. So yeah, good times ahead. Good times ahead. How are you, Justin? Did you get to watch along at home on Imperial Advisor with all the hot meta check?
Oh, I did. I kept track of it over the weekend. All right. It was a shame that I couldn't make it over, but just too many things going on. Like June really piled up very badly, very quickly. So it was a no-go this year. But yeah, kept track of things. Was good. Surprising or maybe not so surprising result. Yeah, Crab March is on. So yeah, we'll talk about that later maybe.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
The inevitable dominance of Crab, also known as, the tallest flower left. Uh, so yeah, it was interesting. We got about 120-ish players both days, and then you cut down to a field of 25. Should we take it day by day, Baz? Or like it was like the first two qualifiers weren't, neither of them were sort of exceptional, were they?
I'm not sure how you look at it. So we definitely got a different spread of environment on each day, I think. So, we had a group of people that didn't make the Friday, because obviously it's a Friday, and we had a group of people that had already qualified for the Friday or played in the Friday and wanted to do something else on a Saturday. So there was a few people who did that. So while they do look quite similar in attendance-wise, there definitely was a difference in the kind of people that were in the field and the players and the attitude, I think. Which doesn't necessarily say that one was better than the other, but just that there were differences across them. If nothing else, you can see that there were slightly less Crab. The numbers kind of dropped in a couple of spots, but a strong showing for Unicorn, which was very interesting, because Unicorn, despite the pack coming out, haven't had a lot of success over in some of the US events. Whereas here they did. It looks like whatever the secret sauce that Unicorn needed, the Unicorn players managed to get it, because they certainly pushed well up into the second day. They got those numbers in. Similar with Scorpion on both days. They especially on the second day, where they managed to get 4 of their players qualifying. That's 4 players at 5 and 1. Much better than the first day where they only got the 1. But Scorpion is a kind of controversial one where we have some experienced players saying that they're in a bad state. Some other experienced Scorpion players saying that they're in a fine state. I don't think anyone is saying that they're in a great situation. But that second day qualification rate was really, really good. Like getting 4 in, put them in one of the top qualifiers.
I think they described the problem as that when a Scorpion player described it as, I used to play Scorpion and I felt invincible, and every other clan was, this tiny, weakened, fool to be knocked over effortlessly by my lightest blows. And now I feel like I'm just competitive with everybody else, and it's terrible. Which, is a way to look at the game.
It's a perspective thing.
Yeah. I think anybody who's sleeping on Keep Revere Dishonor is fooling themselves.
Yeah.
I think it's a legitimate deck. It's a legitimately great deck, and a big threat.
It's two legitimately good decks, because there's the what I guess you'd call the Plumbo style bid 5, and then there's the Akai style, which are like you can see them when you go through the deck list. You can instantly see the approach, because the Palumbo style has a lot of one-offs.
Yeah.
Because you're drawing lots of cards and you want to get into those one-offs, and it gives you kind of options. Whereas the Akai style, it's pretty much all 3s, maybe the occasional 2, because you're drawing into very little of your deck. So you need to make sure that it's as consistent as possible, so you actually get into those cards. You get good cards with the handful that you actually manage to draw. But both of those decks in this weekend did very, very well.
Bid 5 players are weak-willed people who don't like cold showers. Come on, you gotta tough it out. Really slap the choke on a bit earlier.
I don't know. I do like my 5 cards. They're very nice.
For Dishonor though, bid 1, done. Slap the choke on early. Come on, guys. You can't be afraid of
approaches.
You can't be afraid to bid 1.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's an approach. You have to be ready for it. If you've never played against a bid 1 deck, or you've never tried playing a bid 1 deck, it is definitely something worth trying. Even today I saw a discussion about whether the 1 to 5 bid should be shifted down to a 1 to 3 bid or something similar, just to kind of curtail it. But I think that's from an environment or set of people where maybe the bid 1 hasn't kind of established itself. So kind of
I really think there's an issue there with everybody's nearly always bid 1 or bid 5, and there's like 5% of cases where you'll bid a 4 or a 2 or a 3 or something instead. And it feels a bit like in X-Wing when in the old days they had skill 9 pilots and skill 1 pilots, but actually only people ever played 8 or 9s or 1s or 2s, and all the
Yeah.
middle were just ignored. That maybe if they're looking at the game again, doing basically, looking at like doing a revised edition, they'd have a look at the bid and go, look, this isn't working in terms of numbers. We need reasons to bid other numbers or pick, or ways to alter your bid or something, because it feels at the
No,
moment like most times it's 5 or it's 1, you know.
I get that, and that's absolutely fine. But sometimes you want to bid high but less than 5, so you bid 4. Sometimes you want to bid low but more than 1, so you bid 2. And sometimes you want to bid in the middle, so you bid 3. No, I think that the range that they've got is a good range. But yeah, there are those 2 Scorpion decks out there, completely different styles, different approaches, almost different cultures, quite frankly, and both worth checking out. One thing I did find interesting is obviously Lion got crushed on day 1, but did really, really well on day 2 with 3 people qualifying. So that was Ross McIver, Dimitri Roumalotas, and Marius Bonakis. And you had the exact flip on the previous day. So on the previous day, Crane did really, really well. So Crane managed to get 3 of their players qualifying. Obviously, that was Eric Balhus, the Shogun. We got Joss Atridge, who made it to top 4 in the end, and we had Tam Fullard. So that was, it's kind of a reverse story for whatever reason. On that first day was the success story for Crane, and on the second qualifier was a success story for Lion, which is kind of strange. And you can almost, obviously Lion are in a pretty poor spot. I think everyone will admit that. So the success of those players is absolutely noteworthy. But Crane managed to get 2 Crane players in the top 4, and this is before the Crane pack was legal, because obviously it hasn't been released in the UK yet. So I can only imagine what Eric and Joss would have been able to do if they'd actually had the full the operational Crane Battlestar.
I think we'll have people screaming for a Crane nerf by the time Pack 3 comes around on the from Justice for Satomi comes out for the Inheritance cycle, and I don't know if that's going to be out by Gen Con. It might be, but I could see Gen Con as being the big tournament that happens in. It's interesting as well because I was thinking about it, and I think they've got one more tournament before the next update to the rules reference, which they've said is going to happen in July. And if they say this is going to be a rules reference in July, doesn't that sound like they're going to update the restricted list?
I mean, we're kind of expecting to get into the cycle where they'll do both at the same time, and it's just before Worlds, or is that just before Gen Con?
It'll be just before Gen Con because there's going to be like literally one more Kotei in the Crane Pack environment, and then it's going to be like a very short-lived environment, and then it's going to be, if there's a new restricted list with some big changes, anything could happen. I mean, they might hit Crab, they might hit nobody, they might hit Crane again. I was wondering if they put on the Steward of Law now because they're going to hit Crane again with something. They're worried about Crane being way too good, you know?
Oh, okay, yeah, I could see that because it was very strange. I think maybe in retrospect they wouldn't have put it on if they'd known the Crane pack was going to be delayed for this particular tournament. Maybe leave the Steward off a little bit longer because obviously our assumption is that the Steward has been put on specifically for Duel to the Death, I think, isn't it?
Yes, Duel to the Death.
And is that the reason you're thinking that Crane dominance is going to be all over the place?
I think they're going to have 2 really good decks come out of the pack. They're going to have their Denial deck, and they're going to have their with Courtiers, and they're going to have their kind of military dueling deck. And I think they're both going to be great Conquest decks, and there will probably be some other shenanigans of it. I think they're going to have I think they're going to have 2 good decks minimum, possibly 3, and I think that'll. Yeah.
Do you think Crab will actually have have enough cards to put a deck together after every card that has been printed so far is put on the restricted list, just to try hammer them down a little bit?
If they're going to restrict crab, I think they'll hit the kind of resilience crab list. They might restrict Spyglass as well. I don't know. If they do that, like I have another deck. It's not as good as the tower deck, but I have another deck.
Yeah.
And I can work on that. I would like some tools, but I'll live if I don't get them. I think they would really knock crab if they went and they go, okay, we're restricting reprieve, we're restricting spyglass, we're restricting they could restrict Iron Mine, I suppose, and Vanguard Warrior, but that seems like massive overkill. They probably would restrict reprieve, spyglass, and maybe Iron Mine. I don't know. They don't seem to like restrict listing dynasty cards if they can avoid it.
Yeah.
So they might.
Understandably as well.
Yeah, they might. I don't know. They could do that, and if they did that to me, I would go, well, I've got my other deck, and it's not as good a deck, but I have another deck, and I would play that. So yeah. I don't think it's as good. I think the tower deck has gotten stronger and stronger, and I think from what little we've seen from the upcoming cycle, we've seen kind of the first pack. I think the tower deck just gets a bit stronger because they get another pseudo fight on card, and I think that's what it's going to come down to.
And I mean, it's notable that Crab got 4 players out of the top 25 that qualified for second day. So I mean, it's not an overwhelming dominance or anything like that. It's just, and actually, I think it was especially notable in that final game. I didn't get to watch it myself because I was over with the Proving Grounds, but I was told that it might have been a lot different if it didn't have a time limit. So obviously for finals, we will let them play it out until the game ends. But Dave Hoyland, the eventual winner, could have been in a much different situation if it had gone to time. Eric may actually have had the tiebreaker points to win that game out otherwise.
I thought it was interesting as well because they were playing around the kind of classic Crab, just trying to wear the other guy down and run him out of options, and all 3 fight-ons got played at critical moments, and there was he won, but the game went long. The time limit on the finals is 90 minutes. It's not unlimited, but they didn't quite get a time, but they nearly got to time.
Okay.
And yeah, it was interesting from a point of view of a really just kind of classic trying to wear the other guy down, getting hit hard early, and then just basically becoming kind of unbeatable on the defense, and then slowly grinding your way back into the game. Classic Crab, really.
2 pretty fantastic players.
Yeah.
Both really, really nice guys. Eric, I'm going to say, unfortunately, Eric has a lot of experience in this particular matchup in finals at this stage. I think he lost out to Paris as well in a Crab versus Crane matchup. But he is obviously a very, very experienced player. We're not surprised at all to see him in the finals. Dave Hoyland, many people may not necessarily know, he's one of the ex-Netrunner players. So he did make Hadamoto at Worlds. I think he may even have made Hadamoto before that at one of the earlier events. He then dropped out of qualifying to play some Netrunner that second day. Did the exact same at Birmingham Grand Kotei last year. He qualified for the event but dropped off to play Netrunner. Now Netrunner's gone. We will probably see Dave Hoyland appear in a lot more events. He is going to be making over the Worlds. Really, really solid player. Doesn't shake. I still fondly remember one game where he made the most unbelievably ballsy play and didn't bat an eyelid, was ice cool for 3 or 4 turns where he could have instantly lost the game if his opponent had spotted onto it. So he is one of my favorite card players, and I was delighted to see him win.
Eric is also literally the author of his own demise, isn't he? Because he let Crab get Keeper of Water at Worlds. because he was like, they'll be crippled if they don't get Keeper of Water, so I won't pick it.
Wow.
I believe he is literally the author of his own demise.
I think we get to blame the Dragon players who were saying that they were going to take it otherwise. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you know.
Anyway, that's an
You've been
ironic one.
Eric, you've been a great friend to the crab. Cheers. So yeah, other stuff that happened. We got to hold the storyline vote on the Sunday, where there was basically Gen Con UK had been given, or not, sorry, Gen Con UK Games Expo had been given a vote that Chiba Sukune was sending her new advisor, the former Inquisitor Asako Meizawa, to investigate the spiritual imbalance that plagues the Empire. With his background hunting down Maho, Meizawa's skills, the Kaito monks and Sawashi Genji did not. Will she send him to investigate among the lands of the Phoenix to ensure no one within the clan is actively disrupting the Kami and making the elemental imbalance worse? Or will she send him to Ostanuchi to investigate the other clans and hunt out agents who may be creating problems for the spirits of Rokugan? So all of the players who hit day 2 got to vote on that. So there were 25 votes for that one. I took them aside. I explained to them what the vote was. I explained to them the significance of the vote because this is the first one that's happened outside North America and the second or third one to happen overall. Justin, I said, like that, yeah, that basically tournaments in the UK have a history of making the runners of Alpha 4 regret giving them a storyline choice. And I explained the old days of knowledge or power. Knowledge or power. So we all had a good laugh about that. And then they voted. And when we published the result of the vote, the reaction was, "Gah, so obvious." That was so obvious. We all knew all the other clans were going to gang up and vote that way. The final vote was to send Asako Mizawa to investigate the lands of the Phoenix. It was 13-12. It couldn't have been closer. And literally, the guy to vote to break the tie arrived late, and I was like, "Quick vote before we go." It was amazing, and those players there politicking, talking to the players, going, "Oh, look, I'd really like it if you voted this way. This would really matter a lot to me." Other people going, "I don't care which way I vote, whatever." And other people who really cared. So it was good to see that happen. And some of the players there were like, "I'm a Phoenix player. Really, this should be just stories being made by the Phoenix, not the other clans." And I'm like, "I take your feedback on board. However, we've got one storyline pick. This is it. If we had 7, I'd be totally on board with this. But we got 1, so that's where we are."
And there was three Phoenix players in it, which means that 22 other players, couldn't consistently decide on one obvious way. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. So yeah, we got to held that, and that was cool. Any thoughts on that vote, Justin?
I mean, well, people are going to vote the way people are going to vote. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's the lemmatic option. I feel the Phoenix basically policing themselves is fine. I mean, I don't know, but the Phoenix getting involved with other clans, I think, opens up more dramatic possibilities in the story. So that would have been my choice. But no, people voted as they voted. Yeah, but that's it's just great to see these kind of votes and things coming to tournaments outside North America. So yeah, we'll just see which direction the story clan or the story team take it in. You see, the thing is, on the upside, this could mean the reappearance of Blood Speakers, which would be absolutely wonderful. So, I'm going to withhold my ultimate judgment, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it is very much a, let's see what crops up. And I mean, I think there's good possibilities in both. I think you could start to lay the seeds of the Black Scrolls at this stage. I think it would be a good thing to start talking about them as a story element, even if you're going to subvert what people expect to happen. Laying the seeds of them now would be a good thing, and laying the seeds of the Blood Speakers now would be like that's good stuff to do. To kind of where you're setting up story beats for maybe a couple of years down the line. And I would be perfectly happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just have to see which way the story team go with it. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Absolutely. Other Elfavor news we heard about outside of the tournament, they announced that the Dragon novel, The Eternal Knot by Marie Brennan, is coming out, and it is going to be 112-page story, 16-page color insert, and 3 copies of 2 extended art cards, which are Togashi Kazue, much beloved from the core set, as the overcosted, uber powerful attachment, who's also a character, and Dragon Tattoo, which is a very, I think it's pretty good. I really do. Dragon Tattoo, if you haven't seen it, is attached to a character you control. 2 cost, plus 2 military, plus 0 politics. Tattoo, attach character gains the tattoo trait. Restricted, reaction. After you play an event that chooses attach character as a target, play that event again, paying all costs. You may choose new targets. Remove that event from the game. 3 influence value. So it is a force multiplier for some cards. Any thoughts on that one, Baz?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, obviously you've got all the drawbacks of having a 2-cost attachment, but Kyuden Nosawa is one of the best strongholds out there because recursion is good, and this lets you recur a bunch of things. Some of the obvious ones are like Hurricane Punch twice is great. Void Fisting twice is fantastic. Getting to trigger a bunch of your jewels twice. The trick with this particular card is actually working out what the legal cards to recycle are, and then I think there's a bunch of weird rules questions over other ones. Like I think what happens if you use Mitsu to get your Void Fist from the discard pile, and do you get to trigger it, or does it go back to the bottom of the deck, or who knows? Anyway, fantastic card. I'm delighted to see it.
Oh,
doesn't work with Void Fist, as John is telling me.
After you play an event that chooses attach character as a target, play the event again. You may choose new targets.
Yeah,
so
you're looking for choose somewhere. That's the trick.
So if you were playing, you splash this in to Phoenix as
that's the problem.
And you drag into 2 up a guy, a Shigenja, and you're like, actually, I'd like to ready this Shigenja, and I'll recur it and ready a second Shigenja. That ain't half bad. It does remove that event from the game, but you can play it can you use Kyuden Nosawa with that?
No, because it's not your discard. Oh yeah, but could you
no, but you could use Kyuden Nosawa to recur it and then double up.
Yeah.
Well, we don't. So yeah, as John is saying, we don't actually know if that works or not yet, because the effect is removing. So can the Dragon Tattoo then? We'll ask Tyler. Either way, it's an absolutely fantastic card, and it's going to be really good, and it's actually going to be really good in other decks too. Yeah. This is going to be a super worth splashable.
I'm surprised it doesn't require Tattooed, instead gives Tattooed. So that's kind of cool.
I think maybe another tattooed trait that people had to have might have been pushing things out a little bit far. This way, at least, other people get to play with these cards, so that's kind of cool. And hey, there's definitely no unintended consequences from tattooing all of your characters from other clans that we're going to see eventually in the storyline. So everyone should play this card. It's fantastic. I recommend the Crane put it on their best duelists. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thinking of you.
Absolutely. And the apoplectic fits that Crane players had when they saw what happened for winning that tournament.
Absolutely. Oh, we have another little bit of news. Matt Holland, the Organized Play Community Coordinator, posted on the FFG community forum asking if people could be so kind to please reply to this thread with any particular questions about worlds you'd like to see us cover on our FFG livestream at Elfavor and Thrones World Championships on June 13th at 1 p.m. We will definitely have dates and locations and definitely will not share prizes, but other than that, I want to cover as much as we're able. and this will help over trying to pick questions of a fast-moving Twitch chat. I'll be pulling them from here until about 48 hours before the stream. So if you are interested in asking a question about Worlds, please go there and ask. So yeah, that should be cool.
So Matt is the new community manager or something like
that? Organized play community coordinator.
So we've always said that one of the big issues that FFG need to work on is their communication, and now we've got Matt in that position. He's actually reaching out to us, looking for stuff to talk about, and we're going to have a episode on their stream where we're going to be talking about L5R stuff and Wintercore. Fantastic. So yeah, we definitely need to give as much positive reinforcement as we can, and make sure Matt knows that he is welcome in the community, and we love hearing from him.
And he is loved. Okay, on Friday, it turns out that the first pack of the Inheritance Cycle for the Empire got released in Germany, or at least got sold in Germany. So the full spoilers for that pack are up on 5 Rings DB. We don't have images because the scans were picture scans, but we have text. Do we feel like going through a little bit of it?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I mean, yeah. Germany's in the EU. We're in the EU, so it's
absolutely,
legal here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. First up is a neutral event because this is in alphabetical order rather than dynasty conflict order. Do you want me to rejig this so this is actually done in the real order? Can I rejig it?
No, it doesn't matter.
Can I rejig it? A perfect cut it is then. Neutral event. Action. During a military conflict, choose a participating Bushi character. That character gets +2 military into the end of the conflict. If it wins the conflict, honor it. Justin, thoughts?
Yeah, I really like it. It's for clans that are looking for more military bumps, like Lion, like Unicorn. I said, like for Lion, it's going to be a very welcome addition because they can take greater advantage of the force boost from the glory. Unicorn may just want it because they can get too many military boosts. But for a bunch of other clans, like Crane will probably enjoy this a great deal as well because honoring characters is very important for them. Phoenix may well enjoy it because they have a lot of high glory boost. So while kind of lacking the raw power of a card like Banzai, which just gives you +4 military at the cost of an honor, this one gives you 2 immediately and potentially 2 for a couple more turns, or maybe even more. So yeah, I really like the design of this card. Just thumbs up. I think it's really good. Will it probably see a little? Good.
Absolutely. All right. It's been mentioned in the chat that Lion could use it with Stand Your Ground, some jank, or other ways to use a character in multiple conflicts, which all makes sense.
Yeah, it's a little like Find Katana. I mean, it's a 0 cost +2 military, and it will stick around for the rest of it. It could actually replace Find Katana, or it'll hold that slot if you've got 2 to 3 glory consistently in your characters.
And there are more effects looking at how many people are relatively honored in the conflict, as we will see. So there are good reasons to have a couple of honored guys on your side beyond the obvious. Next up, a card I'm actually really excited about, Adorned Barcha, which is a unicorn attachment, Gaijin weapon, cost 2, military +3, political +0, attached to a unique character you control, limited and restricted. And limited, as we all remember, allows you to only play 1 copy of a limited card per turn. Action. During a military conflict in which attached character is not participating, choose a participating character, bow that character, and move attached character to the conflict. So your guy with Adorned Barcha charges in here and knocks somebody else in their ass. That seems pretty good to me. What do you think, Baz?
It's bonkers. It's an absolutely amazing card. I mean, 2 cost for 3 military is kind of borderline. There are a couple of especially crap cards out there that do see play, but feel a little expensive. But this in a military conflict, you can move your character in, which is great, and you can bow participating character. So obviously, if you're in a situation where you need to get a little bit more military force in and there's no defenders, that's not great, because you would need to bow one of your characters to move this character in. But the rest of the time, when you're posed, this is an amazing card. It's really good. The limitation on it that lets them, I argue, get away with this is the attached to unique character you control. And we've heard Tyler talk about how unique characters are a little bit of a liability, insofar as if you've got a unique character in play, and then the rest of your flip is holdings and unique characters, you're not going to get an extra character on the board. But I love getting that extra free fate. The unique characters tend to be a little bit above the curve slightly, so I certainly have no problem with the limitation on this card. I think it'll be super easy to fulfill. And yeah, this is an absolutely bonkers card.
You can spot the extra restrictions on it, the limited as well, which as of yet is not really a restriction, but could be more of a one going forward as we get more limited cards into the pool. All right, Kodo Zentaro, Lion Clan character, Bushi commander, cost 3, military 3, political 1, glory 2, disguised Bushi. Action: during a conflict in which this character is attacking, choose a non-unique holding in the attack province, gain control of that holding, and move it to one of your unbroken provinces. If able, discarding each other card in the province, otherwise discard it. So, he steals a holding. That seems like it could be kind of good. He also gains control of it critically. And he's disguised, which means you can discard a guy in play, bring Zentaro into play, reducing his... not discard, but remove from... Is it removed from play? Replace him. Basically, that guy goes away. All his attachments, status tokens, and fate transfer to Zentaro. Zentaro comes out for that much less fate. So if he costs 2, Zentaro costs 1, and you can't put more fate on Zentaro. But he comes out and he's ready, and he can immediately do stuff. Disguise seems like a really powerful mechanic if you can actually reliably implement it. And I think I'm checking the wording on this guy, and this looks like you can steal a holding and you can put it in your stronghold.
Except it says non-stronghold.
Is non-stronghold?
All the words. You have to read all the words.
I'm looking at the text. It's not saying stronghold. Unbroken province.
Text I'm seeing says, I'll move to one of your unbroken non-stronghold
All
provinces.
right. Could be a different bit of text there. I'm just looking at it.
No, yeah, this is one of the cards that they did preview. So when they were talking about the disguised cards, that this card image did actually make it out. So yeah, we do know it's definitely a non-stronghold province. So
all
just
right.
a bit of a typo there on 5 Rings DB.
There we go.
We'll alert the media.
Alert them. All right. I think that's pretty cool. Any opinions, guys, or is it just Lion and we're like, whatever?
No, it's a good card. There are a few clans that are going to be really unhappy to see this. Crab are going to hate seeing this guy. Phoenix are probably going to hate seeing this. And the interaction with disguised and charge. So you can charge out a guy who's more expensive and then disguise in a guy, potentially. Don't know why you'd want to do that, actually, now that I think of it, but it's a possibility. Anyway, yeah, he's going to be like... He's the kind of guy that you might play one or two of in a deck. Probably no more than that. He's not mainline powerful enough, but he's situational, very, very strong.
So he might be quite matchup dependent because you're looking for the right holding. The disguised on a dynasty character, I think, is obviously a lot less strong than imagine you get disguised on a conflict character. That's really where the
He's a good card, and especially when you take into consideration Lion's ability to recur their characters as well with Spirit Walker or God, it's been so long since I've. But yeah, to recur characters in play, the fact that you'll be able to just bring him back into play potentially, and gain additional value. So yeah, it's a good card. It's a good card. I expected to see some situation there, right?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Even just one Zentaro, so you can drop him into your discard, and then when the time is right, you Kitsu Spirit Caller back in. That'd be pretty good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Could be.
Another Lion card. Looks like Lions have the ABCs this pack. Blade of 10,000 Battles. Lion Clan attachment. Weapon. Cost 2. Military +3. Political +1. Attached to a unique character you control. Limited. Restricted. After attached character wins a conflict, if you're more honorable than your opponent, choose a card in your conflict discard pile. Add that card to your hand. So it's Lion Clan. If I win and I'm more honorable, I get a card back. And card recursion is always pretty good. And this guy can keep recurring a card every turn. So that seems good to me. Any thoughts, Justin?
It seems very good. It has the additional restriction that you have to be more honorable than your opponent, which is when you're talking about a card that costs 2 fate in the first place, attaches to a unique character, is limited, and you have to win a conflict. The number of restrictions start to pile up just a little bit, which I think hurts the potential viability of this card. That said, the payoff is absolutely enormous. Getting your charges back, or constantly being able to pull a charge back into hand, is ludicrous. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to judge this one. Like the payoff is, but the costs and restrictions, are also kind of high. So that's the one line I'd be worried about, is the if you're more honorable than your opponent. Like, mine are set up to be able to do that reasonably and quite regularly, but if you can't, then it's probably just about a dead card.
On the plus side, it doesn't say while you're attacking and military conflict only, so it's a little less limited than many of the line cards.
I wonder, is it one that gets splashed into a different clan? That there are some clans where kind of recurring a key card is more brutal than others. I'm just
I wonder if we're going to see a team of these as well, because obviously we've got the unicorn one in the same pack. Are we going to see a weapon of some sort, a 2-cost something that has limited and restricted, unique character only, and a really good ability across all clans?
Like, if you're
could be.
If Time for War is becoming more and more of a real card, and if you were playing maybe Seeker, Crane, kind of military heavy dueling, and you go, I'm gonna play Blade of 10,000 Battles and Time for War, and maybe some other stuff as Ready for Battle or something, and then just go, okay, I go in, you block, duel to the death, cool. Get back my duel to the death.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
props for trying to make Time War playable. Good job.
It's gonna get there eventually. There's a lot of good 2-cost attachments. If some of the hate goes away, that card's gonna see play. I'm convinced of it. All right, moving on to a dishonor tool in Lion. Weirdly, Command Respect Lion event, cost 0. Action during a conflict. If you have fewer cards in your hand than your opponent, as an additional cost for your opponent to play an event during this conflict, that opponent must give you 1 honor, max 1 per conflict. Conflict deck, influence cost 2. Monster card. John is saying this is an honor running card. Maybe it is. I really see this. I play Watch Commander, and Watch Commander as an event effectively is not shabby. It's not quite as good as Watch Commander because it's only events, but still, if someone goes in, it's an important battle and you command respect, and they're low on honor at all. Ooh. Hard times, Daddy. Hard times.
And you can double it up with Watch Commander as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you're playing Crab and you're like, or you're playing Lion, you splash Watch Commander. You're like, okay, I defend with a Watch Commander. Command respect.
Now, Command Respect is only when they play an event. So
it is
not play a card like Watch Commander. So
it isn't as strong as Watch Commander, and it is only once per conflict, a bit like Watch Commander is only one per character, but still, it ain't fun.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Well, if you're looking at this for a Dishonor deck, then I don't know, Blade of 10,000 Battles suddenly become pretty tempting, because Blade of 10,000 Battles allows you to recur your key Dishonor cards, like your Watch Commanders and other command respects.
Yeah,
so we could be seeing a Lion Splash for certain Dishonor decks. Could happen.
Not impossible. Like if Blade 10,000 Battles go, oh, I finally killed that Watch Commander, I'll take it back in hand. Oh, come on, man. Oh, come on. I'll kill the Blade 10,000 Battles instead. Woohoo, you didn't kill the Watch Commander. I hate you. All right. Next up is a Crane card, Esteemed TS, which we've seen before. A Crane Clan holding and Tea House. It is Province Strength +2. Action: during a conflict in which you control a participating courtier, choose an attachment on a participating courtier, return that attachment to its owner's hand. That player cannot play copies of that card until the end of the phase. We previously talked about this card, and we thought it was pretty good. Any changes in that?
No, still pretty good. You have to be running attachments yourself in order to make the best use of this. Otherwise, you are relying on your opponent doing something to make this card playable. Yeah. But that said, if you're running holdings yourself and you're running courtiers, then this card is well worth consideration.
Yeah, I'm looking at stuff like Mark of Shame, potentially, maybe Tattered Missive. There's a lot of options here with this card. It's good attachment control as well. You just need a courtier and it can play. And with Province Strength +2, that makes a province harder to take. You can't say no.
Yeah.
You know, that's all good.
It is noticeable that it is only until the end of the phase. For example, with your Tattered Missive example there, you could attach your Tattered Missive, defend with that courtier, bow that courtier to trigger the Tattered Missive, bounce it back to hand, and then at the after the conflict phase is over, once you're in like the face phase, then you can drop that Tattered Missive again, play, take the ability again. So there's some weird things you can do. But one notable thing is it doesn't stop reprieves. So you're never going to be able to stop a reprieve being dropped because they can always drop it later.
Unless they're out of fate.
True. Yeah. Actually, how much did they have timing for it? I can't remember. Is there a step before the fate gets removed and people go away?
There's an action step, I think, after the last conflict, anyway. But I'm not sure. There's one.
That would be in the same phase.
Yeah.
But yeah, just be aware that is a phase only.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could still play the reprieve in the action in that action window after all cost. I'm pretty sure the phase conflict is after fated, but that may need to double check that. But yeah, you could still play a reprieve after all conflicts are finished, and then the Esteemed Tea House couldn't bounce it. So that would be.
Alrighty. False Loyalties. Scorpion event, cost 1. Reaction: after an opponent wins a conflict, if he or she is more honorable than you, choose a participating character that opponent controls and a character in that opponent's home. Switch those characters' locations. Conflict deck, influence cost 3. So the old switcheroo, but on your opponent. That's control over what your opponent's doing. That's getting rid of potentially a very annoying character or harpooning in a different one. That seems all right. Any thoughts?
I think it's really bad. Again, you've got if your opponent is more honorable, that's quite likely if you're playing Scorpion. But is the effect really all that fantastic and all that reliably good? Does it help you win conflicts? It might help you win a conflict after that, maybe. And it also costs 1. There are just a lot of restrictions, a lot of costs for an effect that is simply not powerful enough, I don't think, to make its way into competitive decks. So probably a ton of fun for decks that are kind of themed around shenanigans, but I don't see this being good.
Why influence cost 3? That seems very high.
It's a roulette wheel, I'm pretty sure. why is reprieve one in cost, and why is something like this 3? I don't know.
I suspect what occasionally happens is the fine tuning of the cards cause problems, especially with ones where you start seeing a lot of preconditions. I mean, the is more honorable than you. While some Scorpion decks certainly can do that, a lot of Scorpion decks are, consistently more honorable than their opponent, despite their opponent's best efforts to claw back from the hole the Scorpion have dumped them in. So, that may be tricky. But even looking at the effects, what are you kind of looking to do? I guess you're hoping to your opponent, I guess, has a bowed character at the end of the conflict, and then you can switch their best character at home with the bowed character, so their unbowed character will now bow during conflict resolution. So it's a really hard way to bow a single character.
It seems mostly about getting some kind of godly character out of the conflict phase, which you might do better without wit.
Well, I guess that's the exact opposite here.
Yeah.
It's just the timing is so weird. It's after they win a conflict, so this card isn't going to help you in a conflict. So clearly, this is for the conflict after that. So essentially, you have to lose a conflict, and they have to be more honorable than you. So you have to be lower on honor than your opponent does, and then they have to have two characters, one in the conflict and one at home. Yeah, it's very, very, very situational. Maybe if it was a 0 cost, you could justify it to yourself. You could say, well, in the rare occasion when it does work, it's not costing me anything. It's a free blowout bow. But yeah, I'm with Justin on this. I don't think this is going to see a lot of play.
Alrighty. 5th Tower Watch, crab character, Bushi Army, cost 5, military 5, political 4, glory 1, no attachments except weapon. Interrupt. When you sacrifice a character, choose an opponent. That opponent must choose a character he or she controls with lower military skill than the sacrificed character. Bow that character. Wow, I kind of wish that was a reaction rather than an interrupt. But I guess we can't have good things.
This isn't a good thing? This looks like a good thing, surely.
So, because it's an interrupt, I think if you sack a guy to Way of the Crab, your opponent can bow the guy and then sack him.
Way of the Crab might be the way to go. It can certainly be a blowout, and actually, I certainly see you on play it for minor benefits, because sometimes that's the best you can do when your opponent is desperately trying to play around it. So yeah, I can understand why they went with this way with that. But there's other ways to sacrifice characters, right?
There are. Most of them, so far, a lot of them affect your opponent. Some of them don't, but
it opens up new options. It opens up a new deck style, and it doesn't reinforce the existing deck, which is essentially what everyone except for the crab have been looking for. The crab.
Yeah, it's what does it work with? It works with the Vanguard Warrior. You can sort of choose who they have to bow by controlling the military skill.
Yeah.
It's sort of like crab. A lot of the crab stuff seems to be jump through a lot of hoops to get your effect to work, and other clans kind of don't have to deal with that sort of shenanigans.
Other clans have their own hoops, but
they do.
I
but
see what you're
like this is like, okay, I can't just sack a guy. Like, I've got to sack the right guy at the right time that my opponent has to do it. So, and I've played with for example, the Suki broker. And a lot of the time you're going, I can sack a guy and trigger the broker, but this is absolutely the wrong time to sack that guy. So you kind of need better point and click sack targets. Now we're getting some, like, because this works sort of well with the Vanguard Warrior. It works well with the Haruma Signaler, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But it's nearly really good, but not actually.
It's actually quite interesting because of the targeting effect. So your opponent gets to destroy someone of military skill lower than a sacrifice character.
Yeah.
So really what you're looking to do is you're looking to have enough skill so that they are lower, because presumably if they don't have anyone lower, then there's no effect. They don't bow anyone. But you might have actually some interesting plays where you're dropping a fine katana on one of your opponent's characters to try and make sure that they have the right amount of military skill to be bowed. Is that right?
No, you'll always want to.
You're trying to reduce your own military skill. So when you sacrifice your guy, they're locked into a small number.
It's
no, sorry, yeah. So you could drop a fine katana on someone that you don't want them to sacrifice. So that would help you to.
Yes. What I'm saying is, I don't know. I think it's not going to see. Well, I'll give it a go. Certainly, I think if we get some better sack effects, maybe, because at the moment it's Vanguard Warrior, it's Funeral Pyre, which doesn't see much play. It's Away the Crab, which only sees a little play at the moment. In Defensive Rakugan, which doesn't see a huge amount of play. Haruma Signaler, which is going to see a lot of play. And is that it for sacrifice effects in the crab? It just about is, yeah. So, you can sacrifice it for Tainted Hero as well to blank him. But that is a bit of a fringe case. So yeah. Nearly, but not quite. I think it's the one where it's the paper cuts are going to get you. Gateway to Mado. Ooh, look, an infinite combo. Neutral province, void, strength 3, cannot be a stronghold province. During conflicts at this province, you may play characters from your dynasty discard pile into the conflict as if they were in your hand. So, this is an infinite combo, which I'm sure everyone has already figured out. You defend with your Yasuki Broker. You have Yasuki Taka as well. You then have a Vanguard Warrior in your discard pile. You play Vanguard Warrior into play, which is 2/1, 2 cost. Sack him to put a fate in a character. You sack him and put a fate on one of your characters, doesn't matter who. You gain a fate from the Yasuki Broker's trait. You get a fate from Yasuki Taka's reaction. You draw a card. And then you repeat, because you just gained 2 fate and drew a card. So you fate up, put an infinite pile of fate, or, well, not an infinite pile, it's probably a pile of a 10, 15 fate, and draw 15 cards on Yasuki Broker. Then you attach a Jade Tetsubo to somebody with higher military strength than the Yasuki Broker. You wallop her with the Jade Tetsubo, take that 15 fate back into pool, and away you go. So yeah, it's not quite infinite, but it's a way to generate a massive amount of fate in a 4-card combo.
Wait, it's not quite infinite, but you end up with a crap ton of fate.
You do.
All of your characters staying around forever, and your entire conflict hand in your deck.
And not forever. You'll end up with probably 10 or 20 cards in hand and a bunch of fate in your guys. About 15 fate at home. So
I'm pretty sure the game is going to end soon, so that should not be a problem.
You'll end up with about 3 cards left in your conflict, because that's probably where you want to stop.
Yes.
So that'll give you about base, and then you just bid one rest game, because why wouldn't you?
You could take the 5-point honor hit and do it all over again, though, if you want.
You could, yeah, absolutely.
If you're in that position, then absolutely, you could go mad. But yeah, somewhere in the region of 30. Probably about 30 cards in hand, probably 30 face in your.
Your warning sign will be a crab player with both Yasuki Taka and the Yasuki Broker in play. That should set off the warning bells.
Right. So craziness
and the Vanguard.
Yes.
In play or in the bin.
Yeah.
So craziness aside, if you just have a Vanguard Warrior and you have this, that's fantastic. Any character that has a sacrifice effect, any character that has a coming into play effect, when this triggers, there's a good chance you're going to have a few characters in your discard, because you generally flush provinces, or only from dynasty discard pile. All right, so we can't get cards from the conflict. That's good to know. But if you have a cheap character, you can just pull it out. If you've got a big character, you can pull it out. This is recursion from the discard pile, even if you completely ignored the crazy combos. That it's in a void province means it has to be competitive. Obviously, this would be much better as a stronghold province when you're doing your last gasp and get everything you need back at the very end of it. But I think this is a very, very cool, very, very strong card. I think this will see play outside of ridiculous crab decks that are trying to pull off.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a void province, so it kind of needs to be good. So yeah,
Yes.
that is good stuff. All over good stuff. On to cards that make me wonder why they're in the pack, as they're a weaker version of a card that's already in there. Give No Ground, a crab event, cost 0. Action. During military conflict, choose a defending character you control. Until the end of the conflict, that character gets +2 military and cannot have its skills reduced. This includes by attachments, lasting effects, and status tokens. Open queries in this card are, does it work if you've been given a penalty already? So I'm not sure about that. I await John's response on that one. I'm not terribly impressed with this card. It is, you kind of like, there's better cards to play. Like Bonsai is a better card. I think Spreading the Darkness is a way better card. I think Perfect Cup might be a better card, as limited as it is. So only in the defense, only in military conflicts. Like one influence, but meh.
If it does it retroactively, so if you get your +2 and then any lasting effects that you already have in play, and we start seeing more of those lasting effects kick in. So we start seeing, if there's like a -5 penalty to a card in a military conflict, that's going to see play. That sounds like a pretty good card. Not necessarily as good as Bonsai, because you need to have a target that's big enough to actually give you the full contribution. But that would see play. And if that happened, then you would see Give No Ground pop in, because you play that hypothetical card. Then presumably, if the rules work that way, you play Give No Ground and negate that penalty.
There's not
that's a lot of hypotheticals.
There's not that many penalties at the moment. There's Shoju, there's Aramoro, there's the Scorpion Ninja card, there's like Fiery Madness, there's Being Dishonored. I mean, there's not a massive amount of penalties going around.
There's smoke. It feels like a solution to the problem we don't have yet.
Yeah. Mark Shame's Dishonored though, so it's like it's you'd
have to have a glory to care about that on.
Yeah, like we got one usually. We got some twos. I'm not terribly impressed with that. And like Crab already have a lot of mediocre events, and this is just another one. And if there's a big design paradigm shift coming for Crab, it is hiding well. All right.
Well, I mean, we did hear discussion about how there will be a new focus. I think Tyler was talking about that in this expansion. We're going to see a new focus. I think he said something about defending, and yeah, I think that was the focus.
We'll see how that one works out for us. All right. Hold on a second. I'm just going to alter some stuff here. We have now one for you, Baz. Greater Understanding. Dragon attachment. Cost 4, military +0, political +0. Attached to a ring. Reaction. After fate is placed on attached ring, resolve the ring's effect as if you were the attacking player. Influence cost 3.
I'm so conflicted about this. I really, really am. It's so the reaction is amazing. After fate is placed on an attached ring, so that will trigger if you don't have shenanigans, and Dragon have many shenanigans for putting ring on fate or fate on rings, then it will still trigger at the end of the phase if the ring hasn't been claimed. If you put on the Earth ring, that's free card draw. That's absolutely fantastic. It is reaction, which means it's only going to happen once, which I guess makes sense, because if you're able to just keep pinging away at it, that would be bonkers. Unfortunately, it's 4 cost. A 4 cost attachment is just looking for trouble. It kind of needed to be bonkers, and I mean it's good. It's good. If it sticks around for 2 turns, I'm not even sure about that. It's like the 5. We've seen some 5 cost events, and we've seen one, and to play 5 fires, you have to limit it into a situation where you're sure it's not going to get cancelled. And it was at its absolute best when you're able to get a return on that 5 investment. So it actually wasn't costing you 5. Attachments are kind of a different beast. You don't have that single window because they're sticking around, but that makes them a lot more vulnerable. So where with 5 fires, you need to protect them while you're playing it. With greater understanding, 4 cost attachments, you kind of need to be able to protect it all of the time. And it's just for one. So yeah, I love the card, but I'm a little down on it. It kind of feels like it's a little safe. If that makes sense.
It is definitely super expensive. Yeah, I think this was a trait for a while, and then they were like, "Oh wow, this is really too easy to honor out there. Better make it a reaction."
Yeah, and that would be worth 4 cost.
Yeah.
If I was, and then how crazy do you get with that? Because you drop your Jade Masterpiece and you have your Tranquil Monk. You can quickly trigger that effect multiple times. So I can certainly see. I mean, that would be a little bit too dangerous. But 4 costs for triggering this, yeah, I think it's probably a bit much. But we'll see. It could form part of a pretty cool dragon deck if it gets kicking. But the current environment, and I think every environment from here on out, is attachment destruction heavy, because that's the thing people have to do. And this, it's already difficult to get 2 cost attachments in. 4 cost might be a bit of a stretch.
Absolutely. Next up, Hantai Satori. Neutral character, Bushi Imperial Crown Prince. Cost 4, military 4, political 3, glory 3, pride. Action. During a military conflict in which this character is participating, choose a participating character. That character gets +3 glory until the end of the conflict. Justin, what do we think?
Flavorful and awesome. Yeah, I think he's playable, and I think he's pretty good. So that's my succinct review.
Yo, 6 glory. When times are good for Hantai Satori, they're really good. When times are bad, they're horrid. I think that's the lesson here.
Well, the flip side is if Hantai Satori, it's somebody else's fault. If he gets dishonored, you're going to be boosting the glory of somebody else, preferably someone who's dishonored, so they can take the shame. Or, Hantai Satori can take the glory of somebody else by boosting up one of your honorable characters. He's super flexible. He's super good. I mean, if you do get him honored up with that pride, you're looking at a 10 military character. Wow. Fantastic.
Now, I can definitely see Crane, who are running an air role, consider him. Because, hey, being able to go, you know what? You have managed to dishonor him, but I'm just going to honor him twice now. And we're back at the races.
Yeah.
So that seems good to me. All right. After all that talk of getting rid of the tower deck, here is Haruma Signaler, which is a great card for the tower deck. Crab character, Bushi Scout. Cost 2, military 2, political 2, glory 1. Action. During conflict in which this character is defending, sacrifice this character and choose a character you control. Ready that character and move it to the conflict. So it is fight on, but you need to have the guy there and you sack him to do it. This is really rather good. Fight on is an alarmingly good card that Crab are in mourning that they're going to lose for access to a while when we don't have a water roll. So this is fight on a stick. He doesn't have to be unbowed. So if you can get him into a conflict while bowed, you can then use him. He seems alarmingly flexible and alarmingly powerful and a great way to use another giant tower. Any thoughts, guys?
He's good.
Yeah, pretty much good.
Yeah, not much to say. I mean, he does everything Crab are looking for. So yeah, I mean, he's fight on where the that other 2 cost is good omen, I guess. Yeah, no, he's great card.
The only disadvantage of him is unless you've got a favorable terrain, you're probably not going to get any use out of his stats, but that's fine. I think you may see one if you have favorable ground, defend with him the first conflict, and then If you don't need the big guy, next conflict you move him in while he's bowed and sack him. So that seems strong to me. But yeah.
And then when you sack him to bring in your 5th tower watch, your opponent has to bow someone as well. It's all coming together now.
Yes, someone of 2 military or lower. All right. Magistrate of Reason. Dragon character, Courtier Magistrate, cost 4, military 2, political 4, glory 1. As an additional cost for your opponent to trigger a character ability during a conflict in which this character is attacking, that opponent must spend 1 fate to an unclaimed ring. So, what is the Magistrate of Reason really doing for us, Baz?
I'm not entirely sure. So I'm still very, very nervous about the Courtier cards for Dragon. I haven't quite worked out what they should look like or where they should be. I think 2/4 for 4 is decent number wise. Obviously, 4 is that good spot where you're breaking pretty much the majority of provinces. Looking at the trait, as an additional cost for your opponent to trigger a card, they spend. So it's essentially going to cost them 1 extra fate. It's only when the Magistrate of Reason is attacking. So when your opponent's on the defense, presumably in a political conflict, if they want to play a card, they have to spend 1. Then you have all these opportunities to nab that 1. Obviously, we know with the upcoming Shirokatsuki, there's a lot more focus on getting fate onto rings and managing to claim those rings and get that fate back. So there is a big theme of getting fate on rings, manipulating that fate, and working along those lines. So yeah, this could be a really, really strong card. At the bare minimum, if your opponent has no fate when you attack, it is a guest of honor, right? Trigger a card, but only for card abilities. So
yeah,
it'll be
character abilities. Character abilities.
Stuff that they have in play. So yeah, it's good. It's doing something different. A lot of it will depend on what the environment is playing. Obviously, Dragon, like their actions and their duels, you might see a lot of clans. If a lot of clans don't, then this is basically wasted. If they do, that's pretty fantastic. So yeah, it's an interesting approach. It could be better.
Could be better indeed.
I think it'll definitely.
All right, next up for a philosophy for the Crane Clan. Moment of Perfect Beauty. Crane Clan event, philosophy, cost 0. Action. During conflict, if you control more honored participating characters than your opponent, after your opponent's next action opportunity, resolve the conflict as if both players pass consecutively. Conflict deck, no influence cost, as it is a philosophy. The Crane's focus of getting old crab techniques like Deadly Ground and Crushing Attack, they look like they're Crane, so it's fine. Continues apace. This is an alarmingly strong card. It requires a little bit of setup, but if you've got a tremendous board position on the attack, or you've got a really stacked Toshimoko on the defense, this card is tremendous shutout. And Crane of decent answers to counter spells in terms of things like Voice of Honor and possibly Censure. So you can easily go Moment of Perfect Beauty. What do you got? Do you have 1 action to win this battle? If you don't have 1 action to win this battle, you're in trouble. I can see, I've watched a lot of times people going all in on a stronghold, like 4 or 5 guys attacking to 1 or 2 defenses, and people going, okay, but I've got a handful of cards, I've got a pile of fate, I'm going to get through this, and then you're going Moment of Perfect Beauty. And you're like, well, crap. Now I'm in real trouble. I think it's an alarmingly strong card. I think it's going to see a lot of play in the right deck. It's going to be a Dream Crusher. Justin, any thoughts?
Horrific design, never should have been printed. Don't know what they were thinking. Like cards like this have no place in a card. Quite simply, it's terrible. Why would you do this? This isn't the Crane Clan, who don't lack for control answers of their own, whether that's Voice of Honor or Gossip or anything like that. And yeah, You play this, counter their card that follows, and then win on strong pick with no interaction. It's just a terrible design, terribly conceived. It's just a dreadful card. Should never have been printed. Yeah, they should feel ashamed.
I think it's the platonic ideal of an FU card. Like Moment of Perfect Beauty. It's basically just like, can you win this 1-1? If not, GG. And it's like, yeah, lame. And I mean, it's not even like, if you play
it's a moment of perfect trolling.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. That's what the card is. The perfect trolling. Yeah.
It doesn't even cost fate.
Exactly. If this had cost 3 or 4, you'd think, well, maybe. And even then, the card would still be horseshit. But the fact that it's, give me a break.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
I don't get why Crane get this sub focus of, like tons of great actions on events, and then also cancel, and then also shut lockdown. It's like,
yeah,
oof.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you're in a situation where your voice of honors are probably on, aren't they? So
they absolutely are.
Your opponent has one chance to play something that's going to get cancelled, and then you win. Oof.
Yeah, I mean, and consider this in the context as well of the Crane denial deck, which just says, well, this guy can't defend, this guy can't defend, you can't do this with this guy, and then you roll in and go, all cards in your hand. You can't play those either. I don't even know what to say. It's the worst design card in the game. There's a new king on the turn.
It's the new king.
Move over to Daka.
Yeah.
Move over to Daka. You got your errata. You're fine. Moment of Perfect Beauty is now sitting proud up there on the top of Shannon. So,
yep. Yeah. Like you can defend, like this is perfect card for that. The Crane players who love winning a duel with one guy going, I'll just defend with Toshimoko. Moment of Perfect Beauty. You thought you were going to win this game. Yeah. And I've got 1 for when I swing back and take a stronghold. Woo! Not even max once per turn. Woo!
Yep. Like literally the worst design card in the game, and it's been a while since I've said that. Just when you think they just can't, or they just keep scaling the heights. Is what I'm saying. They just keep scaling the heights. I'm not sure what comes next.
I'm not sure what will take over from this one, if anything ever.
It's hard to imagine.
It is.
I dread to imagine.
Now on to a Phoenix card, which are usually far less crazy. Purity of Spirit, Phoenix event, cost 0. During conflict, choose a participating Bushi character, honor that character. At the end of the conflict, discard any status tokens on it. Influence cost 1. Justin, seems pretty reasonable, aggressively reasonable, in fact.
Yeah, this is a good card. Like it's good and not broken. So obviously Phoenix have a bunch of high cost Bushi like Shibutsukune. You've got the Serene Warrior, who's being Shiba Kasada, can finally come. Yeah, it's just gives it like it's a card that gives you a significant boost potentially for a single conflict, which obviously Sawamaro can pump up even further. So it's a good card, fair card with decent upside. Yeah, it's just a good card. Well designed, well considered. Thumbs up.
Could see play with the Spear Rushes Forth, the 4 influence Crane card, which discards a status token to thing. But it's a perfectly reasonable card. As such, probably won't see a massive amount of play, but it's perfectly reasonable. Decent solid card.
Yeah, it's absolutely it's perfectly reasonable. In an ideal world, this would be the kind of card that would find spots in a Bushi-oriented Phoenix deck. But we don't live in that world. We live in a world.
Yeah, you murder your
beauty
as soon as you can.
Yeah,
and
we live in a world of perfect beauty. So
yeah,
but this is perfect for Hantai Satori. So does this push the Phoenix support for Hantai Satori as the most glorious inheritor of the throne?
Yeah, why not?
Why not, indeed? All right. Next, we go to quote unquote the scene of the crime. Dragon Province, Earth, Strength 4. Reaction: after this province is revealed, look at your opponent's hand. Baz, are crimes happening in Dragonlands? Because they seem to be happening in Dragonlands. And why am I being punished for revealing them?
The crime is the actual attack. You know, you blundering into Dragonlands is the real crime here. It's a cool card. If we didn't know that Shiro Katsuki was on its way, I would still consider this a pretty funky card. One of the things, like one of the comparatives for your province, the other province that you'd consider is upholding authority. You know, and obviously one of the big benefits of that is you get to discard one of the cards from hand. But really, it's being able to look at their hand is the big part. That only happens at the end of the conflict after it's been broken. With Scene of the Crime, you're able to do that earlier. Now, it is on reveal only, so you just get to do it at once. But getting to see what's in their hand before you decide how to assign into conflict is fantastic. Essentially, you get to map out the entire conflict, work it out in your head, know piece by piece, and then completely mess it up because by the time you got to the end, you've forgotten all the earlier parts, and then a turn later, you've no idea what they've got in hand. At least that's certainly my experience with reveal opponent's hand effects. I think it's a great card. I'm very happy to see it. It's not necessarily a shoe-in or a straight addition, but I think it would see play in a lot of Dragon decks, and I think it's a solid choice.
Justin,
I think it's crap.
Yep.
I just think it's really bad. Like as I said before, the competition for this is upholding authority, and upholding authority wins games on its own from time to time. And Sin of the Crime does not do that. Sin of the Crime is a card that demands really interact, probably. And I don't know, the aim of card games is to interact as little as possible with your opponent while brushing them at the same time. You just don't think it does enough. I don't see why I would ever play this over upholding. I suppose you could turn it. I just know it's just better on all levels than this card.
The advantage is like you lose to this card, but you get to see it before the conflict even starts.
I agree, but the thing is, like, when people flip, like if you flip into your party, you don't you don't slump. Your shoulders don't down because your opponent gets a look at your hand. Your shoulders go down because you're about to lose the best card from your hand.
Yeah.
I think if it instead of being a reaction on reveal and reaction when it's attacked, I think it would be more considerable. But it's just in comparison to upholding authority, it just suffers so badly. Like that's really the problem.
Honestly, even if it was an action, even if it was something that you could use to chew up cassettes once per turn cancel, I don't know. I'm just not. I just think it's a backup.
I will say that there has been a trend of on reveal provinces that I think could easily have been on attack. So this is one. I guess you'd have to commit multiple crimes, but this is one where if it was every time you attack this, you got to show your hand. Ahead of time. There's no surprise. You're making that choice to do it. Whereas it becomes a blank province after the first trigger. And I certainly would benefit from the reminder of what was in my opponent's hand a second ago. That would really help. Yeah.
I mean, the fact you can't take notes in L5R is another kind of knocks this. Like you're saying, I mean, I'm exactly the same. I'll take a look at a person's hand, and 3 seconds later, I'll remember 2, even if their hand 4. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, upholding is just better. So
absolutely okay. Oh, Sententious Poet. Crane character Courtier. Cost 3, military 1, political 3, glory 2. Reaction: after your opponent spends fate to play a card during a conflict in which this character is participating, gain 1 fate. So it's another Courtier that kind of denies your opponent, or at least puts a cost on your opponent playing cards. Yeah, we've talked a bit about him before. At our consensus was kind of perfectly solid card. Might see some play, decent, you know. Any changes to that? Any modifications to that?
No, he's
No.
fine.
He doesn't stop you from playing anything. He kind of adds an extra. Is it even a cost?
No, it's just like they get a fate, so they get some money,
Yeah.
which isn't great, but isn't terrible. All right, Shameless Gossip, which is basically fixed Rumor Monger, which is a card that was pasted on the restricted list largely because, as far as we could tell, it was too annoying in terms of rules questions. So this is the fixed version, which isn't going to generate a ridiculous amount of rules questions. Cost 2, military 2, political 2, glory 1. Action: during conflict which this character is participating, choose 2 characters controlled by the same player. Move a status tokens from one of those characters to the other. So yeah. It moves around dishonor or honor tokens.
So you're moving your dishonored onto a non-courtier so you can cancel it, or you're moving a honor or dishonor onto someone with less or more glory. What else?
Or somebody who's got 0 fate and is going to be discarded this turn, you move dishonor token on. And
I was just going to say.
Yeah, you know? Like, perfectly good card. I know John Bushi Army was talking about his lack of a rumor monger because he wanted a 2-cost courtier, and there's a 2-cost courtier back.
Oh, and they don't have to be in the conflict, do they?
No.
So Shameless Gossip has to be, but so you can move the dishonored from someone out. So you can move it into the conflict, and you can move the honor status out of the conflict. So that could be cool too.
Perfect.
It's super flexible,
Also,
cheap, 2/2 courtier.
Yeah. 2/2 stats for a courtier, not to be overlooked either.
1 glory. Ugh.
I know.
Yeah.
What are the Scorpion Clan coming to?
Just not no 0 glory. So fixed rumor monger, grand. Sheba Sophist, Phoenix Clan character, Bushi Scholar. Cost 2, military 2, political 1, glory 2. Action: during conflict in which this character is participating, search the top 5 cards of your conflict deck for a card that shares a trait with an element of the contested ring. Reveal it, add it to your hand, shuffle. Justin, do the Phoenix have enough Earth cards for this to be worthwhile?
Enough Earth cards?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but water. Water is the clear element that you'd be going. You'd be playing this for it. You've got Against the Waves, Clarity of Purpose, a few other bits and pieces here and there. Again, I don't know. It's just like he's got a few bits and pieces. Like he's got Scholar for interactions with Asakotsuki and Bustling Academy. 2/1 for 2 with 2 glory. Yeah, fine, whatever. It's just Phoenix's best deck is so overwhelmingly their best that there's really no competition. Like you have to be like a card has to be extraordinarily good to make it into that deck, into the spell deck. And this character is not extraordinarily good. He's cute, like very, very flavorful, very, very fun. And that's about where it ends. He's just never going to see play. I mean, in fairness, like he opens up options for very heavily elementally themed decks. Like Phoenix have quite a lot of air cards. They have quite a lot of water cards. They have a mix of the other elements. In terms of actually playable competitive cards. But he's, I don't know. I mean, maybe he's the kind of that sneaks in as a 1 or 2 of.
Baz, to trigger a search for the top 5 card for a card type thing, how many weapons or attachments do you usually play in your deck with your is it Gaseous Swordsmith, was it?
The Agasha Swordsmith. Yeah, the Agasha Swordsmith is a bane on my life because in many of the decks I try to run a little bit light on attachments, and by light, you're talking about 10, so like a quarter of the deck, and it whiffs a lot on me.
And he's worse in that he's got to be in the conflict. Like Swordsmith can just do whatever.
Yeah, and it's not even like it's not even a broad card type. It's a specific one. Now we know some people have built kind of fire focused decks, and it is certainly possible to do thematic elemental decks. So I suspect this is what they're trying to go for here. But this is not a card for now. This is a card for way down the line. And yeah, the comparison with the Gash Swordsmith is a solid one. This card has a lot more limitations. Gash Swordsmith is a fantastic card. Don't get me wrong. So I think comparing the Shiva Sophist against it is maybe for something in the future. I think this is a deck team of elemental cards that they're working on developing rather than expecting to go straight into a deck yet.
Alrighty. Let's take a look at one of the last ones for today. Shinjo Kaiora, Unicorn character, Bushi Cavalry, cost 4, military 4, political 2, glory 1, disguised cavalry. Action. During a conflict in which this character is participating, switch the contested ring with a ring in the unclaimed ring pool. The attacking player gains all fate in that ring, retain the ring's conflict type. So, I think the big strength of this guy is he is a disguised cavalry card. And Unicorn, especially with their HMT deck, always want ways to unbow characters for cheap. And this is a pseudo way to make a guy for cheap. And do some more conflicts this turn. The ability to go, well, let's go for a different ring is not terrible, because it means you can pick a ring that's got a lot of fate on it and then do a different ring instead. So yeah, pretty impressed. Any thoughts, guys?
I think his main power is that he's too RNG for crows.
It is true. He is, in fact,
probably about two people got that.
I'll be your dog.
The ability probably isn't going to be all that impressive in HMT for Unicorn, because very frequently there is no fate on any rings whatsoever in a lot of the turns that deck plays. Apart from that, yeah. So I think maybe it's more a Shiro Shinjo card, but that said, you have the innate unbow when a disguised character comes into play for HMT, so maybe that's a good thing. In that case, I think we have probably a well-rounded character that'll see play potentially in a lot of different units, so thumbs up.
Yeah, and it is super good on the turn when you're the active player, because obviously you pick up your fate and you pick up the other fate as well, which is pretty great. And once you kind of factor that in, if you're only getting that, that's a 2-cost 4/2, and that's from the first turn. You know, there's definitely potential. You probably want to put 2 fate on this character because it's a 4-cost, which means you're probably going to be able to do it that first turn and then the third turn after they're in play, at which point they've basically made up their base cost. During conflict, the character is participating, and it has potential to mess with your opponent too. Yeah, so you thought you were attacking for earth, you're actually attacking for water now. Yeah, this is a fantastic character. Yeah, great to see.
And lastly, a card we've been looking at for a long period of time and is now legal. Toshi Rambo, Scorpion Province Imperial, all elements, strength 3. This province starts the game face up and cannot be turned face down. It cannot be a stronghold province. Characters played from this province enter play with 1 additional fate on them. A completely different paradigm for province design, one in which it starts in play and gives an immediate bonus. It is a massive target because it's a safe province to hit. It's only 3 province strength, and it gives your opponent an economic advantage being in play. So why wouldn't you slam into it? Any thoughts?
So I was a little bit down on it when I first saw this because of everything you said. It's face up, it's a safe province, and this was kind of the time when province rows being murder was kind of the norm, and you wanted people to hit all those bad ones. But looking at it a little bit more and kind of considering it, Manicured is a strong card, and Manicured is 1 fate if your opponent hits it. Now, they might break it, they might not. Toshi Rambo is one fate if you get your character on it. A lot of your deck is characters. You could, in theory, build it to be completely characters. And every time you manage to, every time you make a character off of this, you're getting a free fate, which is great. Like 2 or 3 turns of that is a game-winning amount of fate. The fact that you've got the province face up, they know it's there, they can see it, but that's like having a manicured face up that you can use at almost every turn without having to wait for them to attack or without having to wait for it to be in the conflict. So the effect is a lot better than I was thinking. On top of that, it is the neutral element. So we are seeing a lot of keeper decks now for Scorpion because they have the option, and you often are kind of forced into hard decisions over, getting the best 5 one of each of the elements. Here, you basically drop your worst one, replace Toshi Rambo in your province row, and you're good to go. So yeah, I've turned 360, 180, 180. I've turned 180 on this province for Scorpion. I think it's really good, and I think it will see play.
Alrighty. So that is the first pack of For the Empire for the Inheritance Cycle. We have seen previews of the other 4 packs, but do not have strong release dates yet. I'm being informed that the Crane Clan pack is showing up on release sheets for next week in the UK. So we will hopefully get that, and hopefully For the Empire shortly afterwards. So yeah, that is most of the news that's fit to print. Any other thoughts, ladies and gentlemen?
There is one thing I wanted to mention. Website that has gone up recently, and presumably they contacted me about it because I do love my stats. But it is just pulling a bunch of charts that update on whenever you look at it. It's for the last 30 days that show clan win rates. Whether it's Swiss or not, who qualifies, makes a cut, who's actually turning up. And you can break it down into the various different specific clans and what their win rates are, what they're playing, what strongholds are working on. So it's the kind of thing I like. So that's 5rings.live. So it can be a good place to just check out and see what's happening.
Alrighty. Nothing else. I kind of next week, if we don't have a pack to talk about, I kind of want to talk about tactics for dealing with powerful cards and powerful deck archetypes in the meta. I was thinking a little bit about talking about display of power, maybe talking a little bit about some action cancellation, other stuff, maybe tower cards, about stuff that people find it tough to deal with. So if anyone has anything they'd like to be discussed in general about ways to handle it, ways to deal with it, that would be awesome.
So is that beyond the obvious of just keep complaining to Tyler until it gets put on the restricted list?
Yeah, that is beyond the obvious. The real solution, which is lobby the design team to fix your problem for you. Rather, this is how to proactively deal with the meta. So if people want to throw ideas at us for that, we will gratefully use some, and ones we have no idea about, we'll just shrug and go, oh, got me. Don't get got, I suppose. So yeah. All right. Anything else? Are we good to go?
I think we are.
All right. We're done here. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. Bye.
Take care.